Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are looking at a document that claims to be an operating system upgrade for, well, for learning itself.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, when I first saw the press release from EON AI Ventures,
Uh-huh.
my alarm bells went off.
Alarm bells. Why?
Because we have heard this before, haven't we? EdTech is going to save the world. VR is going to replace the classroom.
Right.
Usually ends up being some clunky iPad app that costs millions and nobody uses. But you flagged this one. You said this announcement from February 2026 is different.
I did. And I get the skepticism. I really do. The history of educational technology is littered with overpromising and under-delivering.
Completely.
But what makes this EON Virtual Campus launch different is that it isn't trying to, digitize a textbook. It isn't just putting a PDF on a screen. It's trying to solve a specific terrifying economic reality.
And you're talking about the crisis that they mentioned in the source material.
It is a crisis.
Yeah.
The data points to a global talent shortage of, roughly 85 million people by 2030?
Okay, let's just pause on that number. 85 million.
Yeah.
That is the entire population of Germany.
Yeah.
Just gone from the workforce.
That is the scale we are dealing with. And it's not that the bodies aren't there. It's that the skills aren't there. We have this massive disconnect where, universities are pumping out graduates with degrees in theory and employers are staring at empty chairs because they need someone who can operate a specific machine or code in a specific framework.
Or manage a specific patient protocol on day one.
On day one. It's the plug-and-play problem. Employers just don't have time to train you for 6 months anymore.
They can't afford to.
Exactly. The source material highlights that traditional upskilling takes 6 to 12 months. In the modern economy, 12 months is an eternity.
Oh, absolutely. By the time you train the worker, the technology they're training on is already obsolete.
You got it. So the pipeline is broken. And EON is claiming they can fix it with this virtual campus.
Right. But before we get into the shiny features, and there are a lot of them, I want to understand the philosophy here. You describe this in our notes as an acceleration layer.
That's the key phrase. It's not a replacement for school. It's a layer that sits on top of, say, K-12, vocational schools, or universities to bridge that physical gap.
Okay, help me visualize this physical gap. Because when I think of college, I think of lecture halls and libraries. What is missing?
Access. Pure and simple. Let's take a nursing program. You have 300 students.
Okay.
You might have one high-fidelity simulation dummy that costs, $100,000?
Right. A huge investment.
So how much time does each student get with that dummy? Maybe 10 minutes a semester?
If they're lucky.
The rest of the time, they're watching someone else do it, or they are just reading about it.
Which is terrifying if you are the patient later on.
It's the flight manual fallacy.
Why
The flight manual fallacy. You can read the manual on how to fly a Boeing 747 cover to cover. You can memorize every single switch.
Sure, you know it on paper.
But the first time you feel the yoke in your hand and the turbulence hits, you realize you don't actually know how to fly.
You have knowledge, but you don't have competency.
Precisely. And that's where the virtual campus comes in.
It's basically giving everyone their own Boeing 747.
Or their own MRI machine, or their own nuclear reactor control room. By using XR extended reality, EON is virtualizing all that heavy equipment.
It removes the bottleneck of, we can't afford to let you practice.
Exactly. Now, you can crash the plane 50 times before lunch, and it costs the university absolutely nothing.
That's a great way to put it. It effectively democratizes failure.
That is a beautiful way to put it. It makes failure cheap, which means learning becomes fast.
But this isn't just about giving students a VR headset and saying good luck, right? I noticed in the branding discussion, they put a lot of effort into making this feel like part of the school.
Yes, that is a subtle but crucial point. It's a branded ecosystem.
So it's not some generic software.
No. When a student logs in, they see their university's logo, their colors. It doesn't feel like some third-party vendor tool. It feels like an extension of the campus.
It helps with the buy-in, I imagine.
It helps with the psychological buy-in from both the students and the faculty, for sure.
Okay, so that's the environment. But let's talk about the guide. The platform introduces an AI component called Ask Brainy. And I have to play devil's advocate here. Is this just ChatGPT wrapped in a university logo?
It's a fair question.
Because we have seen plenty of so-called AI tutors that just hallucinate answers.
Right, and the underlying tech is similar. It's generative AI, but the context is locked.
What do you mean locked?
If you ask ChatGPT about quantum physics, it pulls from the entire internet. which might include Reddit threads, Wikipedia, and some, science fiction blog.
Which is dangerous if you're trying to pass an exam.
Right. Ask Brainy is walled off. It's trained specifically on the professor's syllabus, the textbook, and the lecture notes. It's an expert in that specific course.
So it's like a TA, a teaching assistant that doesn't sleep.
And doesn't judge. This is the self-directed mentoring loop EON talks about. Imagine you are an engineering student. It's 2 a.m. You are stuck on a fluid dynamics equation.
You feel stupid.
You feel stupid. You don't want to email the professor to ask what feels like a basic question.
So you just go to sleep and hope it makes sense in the morning, which it never does.
Usually, yes. But here, you ask the AI, it explains it. You say, I still don't get it. It explains it again using a different analogy. It unblocks you instantly.
That is valuable. It removes the friction of shame from learning.
And it frees up the human professors to handle the really high-level critical thinking discussions rather than answering, what does this term mean for the 50th time?
So that is the theory and the support. Now let's talk about the action. The second key feature is the XR experience. This is the flight simulator for everything we were talking about.
This is the core delivery mechanism for that hands-on promise. We're talking about photorealistic 3D simulation environments.
So the student puts on a headset, or maybe uses a tablet, and they are looking at a digital twin of the machinery.
Exactly. They are practicing equipment operations, walking through safety procedures, making decisions in real time. But here is where it gets really interesting for me. As someone who loves data,
Okay.
it is not just about, did you finish the task?
Oh, I saw this in the notes. This is the detail about the metrics. You highlighted hesitation tracking.
I think this is the sleeper feature of the whole platform.
Explain that, because in my mind, if I get the answer right, I get the answer right. Who cares if I took 5 seconds or 5 minutes?
The real world cares.
How so?
If you are a surgeon and an artery bursts, you don't have 5 minutes to Google the solution. You need instinct.
So the system is watching the pause. It's measuring the time between things.
It's tracking everything. Eye movement, controller movement, the delay between a prompt and an action. It distinguishes between a student who knows the answer because they memorized it.
And a student who knows it because they have mastered it. That is honestly a little dystopian, but also incredibly useful. It's measuring confidence.
It's measuring cognitive load. If you hesitate, your brain is still processing. You aren't workforce ready.
Wow.
EON argues that this metric alone, hesitation, is a better predictor of job performance than a GPA ever could be.
That is fascinating. It is measuring the psychology of the student, not just their memory.
Precisely. And that leads us directly into the third key feature, which I think is the most critical one for the job market, the Tri-modal competency assessment.
Tri-modal. Okay, that sounds like a mouthful of academic jargon.
It does, but let's just break it down. 3 modes. Mode 1, a written exam, standard stuff, real-world scenario questions.
Okay, easy enough. But mode 2 is the wild card, the oral exam.
Yes.
I haven't done an oral exam since, I don't know, a language class in high school. They're impossible to scale. A professor can't sit with 500 students for 30 minutes each.
No, they can't.
So how does EON expect a university to implement this?
That's where the AI comes back in. The Ask Brainy AI conducts the oral exam.
The AI does.
It asks the student to explain a concept verbally. It listens, it analyzes the transcript, checks for depth, accuracy, proper terminology, and then it grades it.
That is a game changer for the cheating epidemic, isn't it? You can buy an essay online. You can't fake a real-time conversation with an AI about the material.
Exactly. It forces the student to be able to articulate their knowledge.
So when an employer sees this credential, they know this person can write about it, they can do it.
And they can talk about it intelligently.
Okay, and then mode 3 is performance.
Correct. This is the evaluation based on that XR simulation data we just talked about. Did you fix the engine? How fast? Did you hesitate? Did you break any safety protocols?
So when a student graduates from this system, they have a credential that says, I wrote about it, I talked about it, and I actually did it.
Verifiable credentials. That is the magic phrase. An employer sees that and knows, okay, this person has actually performed this task. It de-risks the hiring process significantly.
It effectively kills the, I have a degree, but I don't know how to do the job stereotype.
That is the goal.
It sounds perfect, maybe a little too perfect. Which brings me to the reality check.
Yeah.
Schools are slow. They are bureaucratic beasts.
That's putting it mildly.
They are like aircraft carriers. They take a long time to turn. The source material says this can be deployed in 30 to 90 days. Do we really believe a major university can pivot its curriculum in a month?
Technologically, yes.
Yeah.
Culturally, that's the battle. But EON has anticipated the content bottleneck.
What's that?
Usually, creating a new curriculum from scratch takes massive amounts of time and money.
So how do they handle that? Because if this virtual campus is just 1990s textbooks in VR, it doesn't help anyone.
They have addressed this with what they call rapid course creation. The source material claims that faculty can take an existing syllabus or a textbook and generate a custom immersive course in as little as 30 days.
30 days. From a textbook to a full immersive VR course.
That is the claim. They use AI to auto-generate the immersive content, the 3D environments, the assessments, all based on the faculty's source material. It tries to remove the excuse of, I just don't have time to build this.
That is incredibly fast. That means if a new regulation comes out in the construction industry in January,
Yeah.
the students could be training on it by February.
Wow.
Theoretically, yes. And for schools that don't even have the syllabus yet, maybe they want to launch a drone repair program but don't have the faculty, EON provides a pre-built library.
A library of courses.
Access to over 9,000 courses across 12 high-demand industries immediately.
That is the acceleration layer
Yeah.
in action again. It is not just accelerating the learning, it is accelerating the administration.
And there is one more feature for the students that ties this all back to the economy: career navigation.
Right, tell me about that.
The platform gives students transparent insights into job roles and market demand. It connects their education directly to employment pathways.
So showing them data like if you learn this skill, here is the demand for it in the aerospace sector right now.
So it stops the guessing game of choosing a major. You can see the destination while you were driving.
Exactly. It aligns the student's effort with the market's reality.
So we have the features.
Mhm.
We have the AI mentor, the XR simulations, the 3-part testing, the rapid course building. Let's zoom out. What happens when a school actually turns this on?
Well, this brings us to the synthesis of why this platform matters. It creates a data flywheel.
A flywheel, explain that.
Think about it. The more the system is used, the more data it generates on student performance, where they hesitate, where they fail, where they excel.
Okay.
This analytics data goes back to the school. They can see, hey, 40% of our students are failing the safety check on this specific machine. Maybe we need to improve our teaching on that module.
So the curriculum gets smarter because the students are using it.
Yes. It allows for evidence-based decision-making. The school improves constantly rather than waiting for a 5-year review board to tell them their curriculum is stale.
And looking at the implementation timeline in the source material, this isn't science fiction for the year 2050.
No. As we noted, institutions can deploy this in 30 to 90 days.
That speed is crucial because, going back to the beginning, we have 85 million jobs to fill. We don't have time to waste.
And that ties into the quote from Dan Lidgerskar, the chairman of EON AI Ventures. He calls this a paradigm shift.
Paradigm shift gets thrown around a lot. Usually I roll my eyes at that phrase.
I know, but in this case, I think he earns it. He says students leave workforce ready. That is the key.
Right.
We are moving from a paradigm of education for knowledge's sake to education for capability's sake. It is a transformation where the school isn't just a place you go to read, it is a place you go to become.
It feels like we're looking at the end of the black box degree, where you hire a graduate and just hope for the best.
We are moving toward a glass box education, transparent skills, verified data.
So if this works, if we can truly verify skills with this level of granular data hesitation, error rates, verbal fluency, what happens to the prestige of the university brand?
That is the billion-dollar question.
Does it matter anymore if I went to Harvard or a local community college if my EON portfolio shows that I have better surgical reflexes than the Harvard grad?
I think we're moving into a meritocracy of data. The brand on the diploma matters less than the metrics in the portfolio. If you can prove you can do the job, the pedigree becomes, well, almost irrelevant.
A meritocracy of data. That is equal parts exciting and terrifying.
That's the future.
Well, on that note, we will wrap up this deep dive. Whether you are a student, a hiring manager, or just someone hoping their pilot didn't just read the manual, thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Take care, everyone.